Well, Spiritus, the idea originally came from the title. I was researching something totally different, writing-wise, and I was going through Catholic litanies. And this word, Spiritus, which is featured in a lot of them, Roman Catholic litanies, kind of came out to me as a great title. So there was that, and then years later, this was 2 or 3 years later, I had this sort of image come into my mind of a girl sitting by a river, a tree, and she was writing a suicide note. And then I had like a cut to the same girl hanging from a tree with the note at her feet. But I didn't know why she killed herself. So that title and that image sort of came together. And there was still a missing piece of why she did it. And then inevitably there's like that thing, the one missing piece, and once that snaps into place, it makes sense and you get this sort of charge of energy, okay, now I want to write it. But I've thought about it so much that the actual writing of the script doesn't take that long. And I handwrite everything, the first draft. You know, I make a folder of loose leaf paper and I just start writing. It's kind of cool too because it gives you a first draft in longhand, and then by the time you type it up, you're already changing it, you know, so you're already refining it. I structure a lot. I like to play around with structure. I think it's kind of fun. And you sort of stand on the shoulders of people who came before in the 90s who made nonlinear stuff more acceptable to wider audiences. I always wanted to do Spiritus from the moment I had the original idea. And then I wrote the script. And I was just going to do it myself. And then Shane Gillis, who is the co-producer of the movie and also the composer, wrote me and said, would you like to, you know, could I do the music for it? And I said, yeah, great, you know, because we had talked prior about doing something that didn't happen. And so it just seemed like a great idea. And then Shane brought in Rick and Josh, and you know, and then we all decided to collaborate on it. So it was this thing that I was going to do, and then I brought Shane in, and I brought all the rest of the Foolish Henry Films guys in there, and then it suddenly bumped it up to another level because we had great possibilities of what we could do together to make it an even better movie. I think there's always a resistance when you do something different. You know, when you become an actor, I think people think when you do something different, oh, well, why don't you just stay? Why don't you just be an actor forever? You know, or why don't you, if you're a director, why would you want to act, or why would you want to write? But a lot of people have a lot of different things that they like to do, and they have a lot of different sides of themselves. It's sometimes difficult to get people to go, you know, I do this too, you know. People have different, you know, I like to paint, I like to write, I like to direct, I like to act, and doing any one of those things, I don't think I would feel as fulfilled. Yeah, hell yeah, man. Diversify your portfolio. Well, acting really does help a lot with directing, particularly when it comes to directing actors, because a lot of actors, or a lot of directors I've worked with as an actor, they don't really understand what it's like to be an actor. So they don't always understand that just because you want it done, it doesn't mean an actor can just do it. You have to be more compassionate with people. And some people are better on the first take, and some people need 4 or 5 takes. As an actor, I like more takes. I like a lot of older movies. I like, my influences are pretty wide. But John Cassavetes and George Romero were 2 guys that really took their creativity and made that work to their advantage. And they didn't seem to fight against the whole thing of having no money. And that always inspired me. So going into the film, you know, again, it goes back to what I was saying about not pushing against budgetary limitations, but accepting them. You know, if you can't get a location, like there were things in the script that we wrote, I wrote for a whole different kind of thing. I mean, there was the scene where Vera comes into the house and is searching for Marjorie's journal, was written for a whole different location, storyboarded for a whole different location. And then we couldn't get that location at the last minute, so we had to change. So you go into the place and you look at it and you walk through the shots and the scene, and Rick and I just walked through the set and made a new shot list with a totally different, to accommodate this whole different location. It actually turned out much better than what was written. So that's one of those things where you could get really depressed that, oh, this isn't what I envisioned it to be, but you can make it better. You know, and that's kind of how you have to approach micro-budget filmmaking or low-budget filmmaking, is you have to look at it and go, okay, well, I can't get necessarily, you know, the building's not going to blow up. Maybe I don't need the building to blow up. Maybe I can do something just as cool in a smaller sort of parameter. The biggest challenge on Spiritus, you know, other than the budgetary limitations and such, was you had the hottest fucking summer in Alabama history. And we were shooting everything outside. We had fight scenes in 120 degree fucking weather. It seemed like 120 degrees. And there was the one day that we shot the big fight between Jared and Mitch, where we're out in the middle of a rock quarry. Everything is white, drawing in heat of us standing in the middle of this place without any shade, but a little strip of shade that was thrown by this piece of like conveyor belt, but that was about 2 feet wide. There's no way you're going to get a film crew in a 2 foot wide piece of shade. So we're standing out there and we're absolutely cooking. Josh, the first assistant director, I happen to know, turned into a lobster. Now, how Jared and I didn't absolutely roast as fair-skinned as we are, I don't know. But that was the most uncomfortable day I've ever spent on a film set. And then, of course, we were shooting a fight, a long, involved fight, which took a while. So the heat, physically, was the biggest challenge. And I think the next movie is going to definitely be a fall or a winter movie. I don't know if I can do another July shoot in Alabama.
I've been having weird dreams.
About?
Marjorie.
Now, I'll tell you one person who I worked with on this movie. He was the assistant director. And what a fucker. I mean, I'm telling you, if I could do anything in my life, I would probably fuck Josh Carples. Could we cut? I'm gonna get some messages over that one.